Happy Halloween, October 31st, 2024. Sam Hain, All Hallows, whatever the heck, Autumnal Festival. Don't celebrate it because if you do, you're Sataning. Bosh. Whatever it is to you, it is to you. Whatever it is to me, it is to me. So, we went out and got some candy for the kids. Take a lot of it, and stuff they don't like, we get rid of by get rid of it, give it to students, as rewards and stuff. So just kind of the way we roll, and then kids get theirs, and then between the five of us, we go through it. But yeah, I don't know what you do with your candy. Some people freeze it. We actually did that a few years ago. We took the candy and froze it. So whatever is for you is whatever it is for you. So this one is entitled "Iran Will Strike Israel?" All kinds of that stuff coming, saying that before the election on Tuesday, there might be a exchange between Iran and Israel, and all H-double hockey sticks might break loose. So maybe all the nothing ever happens people will, get theirs. Maybe maybe they won't. Who knows? But it's being reported all over the place, and of course, maybe it's a wagging the dog. Maybe they're trying to up things. There was supposedly a ceasefire yesterday, and of course, I got shot the H-double hockey stick. So who knows, folks? It's all whatever it is. So we shall see. We shall. So they've had a few of these exchanges started back in April. And then, of course, they took out a bunch of the upper leadership. October, we've seen a couple, and now they're saying that there's going to be another, and it's going to be more intense. So, whatever it is, whatever. We'll have to find out. We'll cover it all here. Crisis Report, most comprehensive news on YouTube, that's for sure. So, tabulate it all, get it together. 10:30, 10:45-ish, we turn on the lights and we start doing our thing. So, yeah. So sit back, get yourself a nice cold something or other to drink, and we're going to take you through everything. And there's a lot, good amount. So, here we go. This is your Crisis Report for Halloween, October 31st, 2024. Today is the anniversary of the last great cavalry charge in history when Australian mounted soldiers attacked the Turks at Beersheba, 1917, and despite being outnumbered, defeated them. They were rated the finest mounted soldiers in history, better than the Cossacks or the Plains Indians. So, to the Australian mounted soldiers of World War I, we remember you. House panel on Rona plans to refer former Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York to the Justice Department for potential prosecution of false statements. Senate Republicans could block Trump from putting RFK Jr. in the cabinet. Of course, got to have our suck off Big Pharma. Director of the World Health Organization has threatened the jabbers who don't like to get jabbed with a more aggressive response for causing disruption because your freedom is not allowed anymore. North Korean state media officially confirmed that they tested a new ICBM. You heard that here first, literally before every other channel out there. We covered the ICBM. We'll have more on that later. U.S. intelligence believes that Iran could retaliate against Israel just prior to Election Day. And, of course, that took all the wind out of the room, and a lot of the posts coming up will reiterate that in different ways with different information. Tasty seltzer. South Korea has held an emergency security meeting after North Korea's ICBM launch, which flew 7,000 kilometers, 4,350 miles, new record. South Korea is going to respond by most likely launching its own exercise in which it will conduct artillery training and launch of some missiles. Ukraine claims that they had killed 7 North Korean military personnel on the Kursk front line and have captured 1 individual. U.S. expects an Iranian retaliation against Israel as soon as this weekend. And here's the one of the last breakdowns of all the swing states. Percentage of mail in and early in-person votes cast. Wisconsin, 1.1 million votes cast. Others, 41%. That's down 1%. Democrats have brought in 35%, about on par with what they did. Republican have brought in 24%. That's up 1%. And in Michigan, 2.2 million votes cast. Democrats, 47%. That is down 5%. Republicans, 42%. That is up 4%. Others, 11%. That is up 1%. Pennsylvania, 1.5 million votes cast. 58% to the Democrats. That is down 2%. Republicans, 32%. That is up 2%. Others, 10%. Same. North Carolina, 3.3 million votes cast. Republicans have 34%. That is down 1%. Democrats have 33%. That is 0 or the same. 33% or up 1 there. Georgia, 3.4 million votes cast. Republicans, 48%. That is down 1%. Democrats, 45%. That is the same. Others, 7%. That is up 1%. Arizona, 1.7 million votes cast. Republicans, 42%. Democrats, 34%. They are down 2%. Republicans are the same. Nevada, Republicans, 39%. They're minus 1%, or, like down 1%. Democrats, 35%, so about the same. Others, 26%, up 1%. As of 31st of October, Republicans are leading in 4 of the 7 swing states in the early voting trends. Democrats lead in only 2 of the 7 swing states. Plus or minus indicates the change. 5 days left for Election Day. Transportation of ballistic missiles has begun in Iran. Reports in Lebanon of 1 death from an IDF attack in a vehicle on the road that connects the Lebanon Valley to Beirut. Smuggling of weapons in the Egyptian border area was thwarted. IDF issues another warning to the residents of Baalbek and the surrounding area to evacuate in anticipation of a new wave of attacks in the area. Explosions in Syria following Israeli Air Force strikes on Homs. 4 critically wounded from rockets on agricultural fields in Metula, northern Israel. 4 foreign workers in the fields of Metula were unfortunately succumbed to their injuries. IDF takes a relatively unusual responsibility for an attack in Syria. Quote, "We attacked military warehouses and headquarters of the Radwan Force and Hezbollah in the Al-Qasir area of Syria. This is an area that is very close to the border with Lebanon, and it is about military equipment that is apparently destined to be smuggled into Lebanese territory. 2 people were killed north of Haifa as a result of the latest barrage from less than an hour ago." These are all about 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time earlier. More Israeli strikes on Hezbollah targets in Baalbek, eastern Lebanon. Following the execution of an Iranian citizen with German citizenship, German government announced the closure of the Iranian consulates in Hamburg, Frankfurt, and Munich. Netanyahu says, "I do not set a target date for the end of the war, but I do set clear goals for winning the war. We treat the arms of the octopus and at the same time hit the head of the octopus in Iran. We are changing the face of the Middle East, but to be clear, we are still in the eye of the storm. Great challenges were still ahead of us, and I do not underestimate our enemies at all. I very much appreciate the support of the USA. When possible, I say yes, but when necessary, I say no." 2 dead from Hezbollah shootings in north of Haifa are a mother and her son, 60 and 30 in age. Arab Israelis from Shafar it was reported that they were hit by shrapnel while pickling olives in their orchard. Social platforms down in Mozambique ahead of protests, internet watchdog states. EU is probing shopping app Temu over illegal products. EU Commission is calling on its citizens to stock up on supplies, as most bloc countries are, quote, not in a position to ensure the survival of their citizens for at least 3 days, end quote. If you are relying on the government to take care of you, you might as well just go outside, pick up a big stick, and start hitting yourself in the head with it. You are your own first responder. Everything is on you in this world. So hopefully you are preparing accordingly. Something we very much espouse here on Crisis Report and PrepperNow. Do not be one of these idiots that sits back and just waits for someone else to come riding in, okay? Number of undocumented migrants arriving in the UK after crossing the channel in small boats this year has surpassed 30,000, provisional statistics they show. Global stock slide on U.S. election, tech worries. Harris slams a very offensive Trump remarks on protecting women. Spain, flood death toll soars to 158, according to rescuers. 1.2 billion people are at high risk of climate change, according to the World Bank. ABC mistakenly broadcast U.S. election results on a ticker during a broadcast of the Formula One Mexico Grand Prix by ABC local affiliate WNEP TV on Sunday. Scenes of the extent of destruction caused by the G-side Israeli army in the Market Street in the Beit Lahia project north of Gaza Strip. Resistance fighters target occupation forces with an explosive device in Nar Shams. North Korea on Thursday launched new type of solid fuel intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, toward the East Sea. United States is facing civil war, Lukashenko has stated. Quote, I'm afraid we could witness an internal civil war in the U.S., Lukashenko said. America has been in turmoil for the last decade. We're observing a fire hazardous situation in Germany, France, Poland, Moldova, Georgia, and others, according to Lukashenko. China, for the first time, the Chinese Navy conducted its first dual aircraft carrier formation drill, South China Sea, involving the aircraft carriers Liaoning and Shandong. Range of the intercontinental ballistic missile launched by North Korea on Thursday could exceed 15,000 kilometers if launched on a normal trajectory and depending on the weight of the warhead, Japanese cabinet member Yoshimasa Hayashi has said. South Korean and Japanese defense officials state that the intercontinental ballistic missile launched tonight by North Korea, last night, may be able to reach well beyond the east coast of the United States. U.S. and South Korea launched 110 warplanes in response to North Korean ICBM launch. They can reach far away from the U.S. East Coast. Info alert, Russian troops, along with North Korean, who deployed to the area, prevented a breakthrough of the Ukrainian armed forces state border in the Navy, or in the Novi Put area in the Kursk region and repelled 4 counterattacks, Russian Defense Ministry stated. Israel may launch a large-scale preemptive attack on Israel or on Iran, Israeli state broadcaster KAN has stated. Earlier today, Avigdor Lieberman, a former deputy prime minister of Israel, called on Netanyahu to immediately launch a large-scale preemptive strike on Iran and not wait for Iran to respond. Israel, several rockets fell directly near Haifa after a barrage of rockets was launched from Lebanon. Another total failure of the Iron Dome. Military helicopter lands on the compound of the Knesset, maybe for getting approval for strikes on Iran. Who knows? Netanyahu met today in Jerusalem with the special envoy of the President of the United States, Amos Hochstein, and with the special envoy of the President of the United States for Middle East Affairs, Brett McGurk, regarding the situation in the Middle East. During a telephone conversation, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Alexander Syrsky, reported to Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Allied Armed Forces in Europe, General Christopher Cavoli, about heavy fighting along the entire length of the front line. Today is one of the hardest days since the war began in the north, according to War Intel on Israel. Reports in the U.S. that Iran may attack Israel by the end of the week, Channel 14 military correspondent Yair Altman has stated. More attacks on Hezbollah targets entire southern Lebanon. Since this morning, about 100 Hezbollah terrorists have been eliminated in Lebanon. A very eventful weekend is ahead. Iran is preparing to strike. Will Israel strike first? That is Amir Sarfati. IRGC Deputy Commander Fadavi says Iran will undoubtedly respond to the Zionist regime's aggression. For over 40 years, we have consistently retaliated against every hostile act. Our capabilities allow us to target all Zionist interests in a single operation. Iraqi source says Iran is preparing for a response against Israel and is clearing the airspace over its launch bases. One of the expected locations for the launchers, according to the source, is a facility in Shiraz. 250 Hamas terrorists who participated in the October 7th massacre were eliminated in Gaza this month. IDF, we destroyed about 70% of Hezbollah's stockpiles of UAVs. Iranians are threatening to damage Israel's water desalination facilities. About 80% of the water in Israel comes from the desalination facilities scattered in different areas of Israel. Damage to them would be extremely destructive to Israel. Hezbollah's weapon depot. Israel bombed this morning in Al-Qusayr, Syria. Continues to burn even now. In response to the killing of 7 people in Israel today from Hezbollah rockets, IDF spokesman in Arabic issues an unusual evacuation alert. Quote, a call to all the residents of the city of Nabatea. If you are near a structure used by Hezbollah, you must evacuate the area immediately. Report in the New York Times says Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei directed Iran's Supreme National Security Council to prepare for an attack on Israel. It was also reported that Khamenei made the decision to respond after reviewing a detailed military report on the extent of the damage caused by the Israeli attack. A report in the New York Times, Iran's Supreme Leader, oh, nope, that's a doubler, sorry. Iranian response to the Israeli aggression is inevitable, Ali Fadavi, Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the IRG, KANN News, has reported. U.S. officials discuss draft agreement that would allow Israel to continue striking Lebanon for 2 months after the agreement. Missile launchers at Iranian bases getting ready and loaded soon. EU citizens have to stock up supplies for 72 hours because most bloc countries are not in a position to ensure the survival of their citizens for at least 3 days in the event of a crisis. So, every household should stock up on supplies, Rhenish Post has put. Ukraine, there will be a missile attack on strategic location across the country due to the takeoff of 16 Russian Tu-95 strategic bombers who are already equipped with Kh-101 cruise missiles. Caliber carriers are also ready. Iran, our response to Israel will be unprecedented. IRGC Commander-in-Chief Major General Hossein Salami. United States has received information that indicates that right now there are 8,000 North Korean troops in Russia's Kursk region. Deputy U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Robert Wood said Thursday, according to Reuters. North Korean troops arrived in Ukraine border, Secretary of State Blinken has stated. An unimaginable response will be given to Israel's strikes on Iran. They have nowhere to flee. It's according to Chief of the Revolutionary Guard. Iran's Commander-in-Chief of the IRGC, Hossein Salami, has warned that the Israelis made a mistake and that Iran's response will exceed all explanations. Former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, the real enemy that we have is not Iran, it is not Hezbollah, it is not Hamas. The real enemy is from within, the messianic, crazy, extreme groups of Israelis, the government, and Netanyahu. Iran plans to attack Israel from Iraq, using drones and the ballistic missiles in the coming days, Axios quoting an Israeli intel source. North Korea's missiles set records with a 1-hour, 26-minute flight covering 1,000 kilometers and reaching over 7,000 kilometers in altitude, the highest and longest flight in DPRK's missile launch history. President Zelensky blasts Western partners. Ukraine received only 10% of the aid package voted for by Congress in 2024. I've too much for what, he says. We just want to live. Is that too much? Zelensky responded to Western leaders, criticizing his victory plan demands. Skydio, largest U.S. drone manufacturer and Army Ukraine military supplier, is facing a severe supply chain crisis after Chinese sanctions. Sanctions specifically prevent Chinese companies from providing critical components to Skydio, including crucial battery supplies. The company has supplied over 1,000 drones in Ukraine for intelligence and reconnaissance. CEO Adam Bry characterized this as a deliberate attack on American industry, stating, "This is an attempt to eliminate the leading American drone company and deepen the world's dependence on Chinese drones suppliers." That's particularly in Asian, including Taiwan. Powerful explosion has caused a massive fire at a lithium battery recycling plant, leading to secondary detonations and forced evacuations in Missouri. Axios, quoting an Israeli official, the cabinet approved extending financial transactions between Israeli banks and the West Bank for another month. Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the Revolutionary Guards, Brigadier General Ali Fadavi, told Al Mayadeen the Iranian response to the Israeli aggression is inevitable. Axios, citing informed sources, says U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein will not travel to Beirut and will return to Washington today from Israel. Seems like Netanyahu rejected any possible date with Lebanon. Lebanese Prime Minister Sami Gamayel, the Kataeb Party, we will not remain silent about attempts to take Lebanon to the abyss. Via his official page, Republican candidate Donald J. Trump condemned the Islamist violence done by Muslim Brotherhood mobs against Hindu and Christian minorities that has been gripping over the troubled nation of Bangladesh over the last month, calling on Hindu Americans to support him on the incoming election, quoting his good relations with Indian Prime Minister Modi. And on Twitter X post, the Republic said, I strongly condemn the barbaric violence against Hindus, Christians, other minorities getting attacked, looted by mobs in Bangladesh, which remains in total state of chaos. I'm going to move on from that, but it is a long one, but it kind of gives an idea of the analysis. This is the beautiful thing about the PrepperNow crisis report. All of it is there, and you can just kind of follow the rabbit hole. Hey, I want to go down to this link. Well, right there, boom. It's in the corner waiting for you to go. So, I think you get the point. Associated Press says that if a winner is not determined by election night, two presidential transition would begin until, at the latest, the electoral vote was count. Following the sirens that sounded at 11:37 in Metula, two projectiles were identified crossing from Lebanon and falling in an open area. Details are under review. What they didn't say, the open area that was hit, was the workers in it. 5 were injured, 1 critically and 4 seriously. Iran, the army, will participate in the operation against Israel along with the IRGC. North Korean media released an official report on yesterday's missile launch. New Hwasong-19 ICBM flew 5,156 seconds, recording 1,001.2 kilometers with a maximum altitude of 7,687.5 kilometers. Landing in its designated area in the east coast of Korea, alongside the Hwasong-18 ICBM, this newly completed system is set to become North Korea's primary defense tool. Launch marks a record in flight parameters and further strengthens North Korea's ICBM arsenal and new, including both and light ICBMs. U.S. received information that indicates that right now there are 8,000 North Korean troops in Russia's Kursk region. United States, Japan, South Korea urge North Korea to end provocative actions. Joe Rogan podcast interview with J.D. Vance is out. It's 3 hours, 17 minutes long. It's a long one. Israeli intelligence suggests Iran is preparing to attack Israel from Iraqi territory in the coming days, possibly before the U.S. presidential election. And that one is up from Axios. U.S. is going to announce new Ukrainian military aid in coming days, according to the Pentagon chief. North Korea has sent Russia more than 1,000 missiles, South Korean defense chief stated. Donald Trump is favored over Kamala Harris in 5 of the 6 toss-up states, according to Decision Desk HQ. Trump sues CBS for $10 billion, alleging deceptive doctoring of his interview on 60 Minutes. Germany, tiny German village of 600 residents will receive 500 immigrants despite voting against it. Local residents are betrayed, alienated, and feel helpless. We were totally betrayed, they said. Overnight, this village will see their population nearly doubled despite democratically voting against it. Europe, CSCE pushed a bill through Congress that would allow Poland to shoot down Russian missiles or UAVs flying in Ukrainian airspace, which may or may not threaten Poland itself. CSCE says that this was a response to the revival of contingent of North Korean troops on Russian soil, which is expected to take part in actual combat. U.S. has given Israel $17.9 billion in military aid since October 7th, 2023. Breakdown of that goes $4.4 billion weapons, $1 billion heavy weaponry, $6.8 billion just financing, $5.7 billion to develop missile defense systems. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, has ordered an attack on Israel, according to the New York Times. And breaking, multiple reports that Chief of General Staff of Israel, Herzi Halevi, survived a second attempt on his life. October 29th, Hamas targeted a house where Halevi was staying for an assessment in the northern Gaza Strip. Palestinians fired an ATGM at the house where Halevi was present, but they failed to hit him. 4 soldiers from its ghost unit were killed in their houses, and the IDF admitted those losses. EU Commissioner is calling on its citizens to stock up on supplies to ensure their survival for at least 3 days in case of war with Russia. Iran is preparing major retaliatory strikes from Iraq within days, Israeli intel suggests. Israeli intelligence suggests Iran is preparing to attack Israel from Iraq territory on the coming days, possibly before the U.S. presidential election. 2 Israeli sources have told Axios. Sources said Israeli intelligence suggests that the attack is expected to be carried out from Iraq using a large number of drones and ballistic missiles. Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Iran will respond against Israel in a way that is unimaginable. Israelis have not forgotten the October 1st missile attack, but they all believe that a few missile launches will change the course of history. They made a mistake, and they will be punished for it. Iranian officials threaten retaliation for Israeli strikes. Iranian, 3 of them, officials familiar with the war planning, and said Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, had instructed the Supreme National Security Council on Monday to prepare for attacking Israel. Military commanders were preparing a list of dozens of military targets inside Israel, but that the attacks would very likely happen after the American election because Iran was concerned that another spike of tension and chaos in the region could benefit former President Trump in his re-election campaign, according to Iranian officials. So, the attack was expected to be carried out using hundreds of UAVs and ballistic missiles, sources have stated. According to them, Iran wishes to carry out the attack using the pro-Iranian militias in Iraq in an attempt to avoid another Israeli attack. Russians can continue to gain ground in the south of Donetsk and push back the Ukrainians. Several villages have fallen in the last few days. Pressure on Kharkov is increasing, and the fall of Kharkivka is adding. Russian and Ukrainian sources now report that the Russian ground forces are in complete control of Kharkivka. Latest Russian advances will potentially create several cauldrons. Situation towards the Oxkill River is also becoming increasingly tense. In the meantime, Russians are opening up further sections of the front, and the Lugansk Oblast is now almost completely under the control of the Russian forces. According to Russian information, the Ukrainians are said to have concentrated dozens of tanks and infantry fighting vehicles around Izyum for counter-offensives, but it remains to be seen whether these will come shortly before the presidential election in the USA. European Union warns its citizens to stockpile food and supplies in case of the war. As a part of the strategy, the EU should advise households to be prepared for self-sufficient for a minimum of 72 hours in the event of an emergency. And the Barry County Sheriff's Office has revealed that Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has an open investigation into Dominion voting systems. Since December 2020, Sheriff's Office has been investigating election-related crimes and has been made referrals to the Texas Attorney General's office. So there you go. Friends, hit the like button if you're new here. Do the subscribe thing, darken out the bell, get the notifications. Join me on Truth, Gab, Minds, and Twitter, X. Also, there is Subscribestar and Locals. Been putting a lot of stuff out there lately. Or you can become a member, one of the cool kids like Roger McKeon. That is $2 a month and keeps the lights on. So, really want to thank you all. I appreciate all of your support. We're going to keep it kicking out and coming, but looks like we might be entering a new stage if they do go out and do a tit-for-tat strike again. So, on that note, God bless, friends. Stack, stock, stick to the plan. Keep your head on the swivel and your powder dry. And I appreciate you coming by the Crisis Report by PrepperNow. We'll see you on the next one.